Battlefield 5 is slowly being released to all of the community in this staggered approach that EA have decided to take. This means some people have been playing the game for quite a few days, whilst others are going to have to wait at least another week in order to get their hands on it. Even though not that many people are already playing the game, there have been tons of things that people have been finding out that need to be fixed, and DICE have explained that they are going to bring a patch to the game soon that will attempt to fix some of these issues. In this video, I'm going to take a look at the things that I believe need fixing in Battlefield 5. Some are quite obvious, some are things that you might not have experienced. I know that in Battlefield, especially on the release of the game, there are some people that have no issues with the game and others that experience loads of problems, and it is quite subjective, and sometimes people are just really unlucky and get all the bugs on their game. So let's go through this list. If there's anything that I've missed, please leave it in the comments down below. However, it is a list, so you need to wait until the end to see if I've actually explained it in the video. I'll also do a little list in the description of everything that I'm going to talk about. So starting out, some of the things that just annoy me and need really fixing from the outset. When you are playing the game and you have an assignment equipped, you can't then equip a new assignment if you complete the old one without leaving the server. This is really annoying and is something that needs to be sorted. I have a feeling DICE will sort this fairly quickly. It's also the same with the weapon specialisations. You cannot change your weapon specialisations without leaving the server. Maybe you just want to try a slightly different specialisation on a weapon, and you can't do that without leaving the server. That's kind of ridiculous, especially when you have to queue for a new server because of the way that DICE have set these servers up. Whilst we're talking about the servers, I'd like to talk about one-frame deaths. I get killed in one frame by certain weapons, namely the KE7. However, when I use it, although it does kill fairly quickly, it doesn't kill in one frame for me. What this means is the server isn't doing its job properly in displaying how and when I'm taking damage, leading to an incredibly quick time to die, when in fact the time to kill isn't anywhere near as fast. This needs to be fixed as soon as possible because dying in one frame absolutely sucks. Not really something that can be fixed at this point, but a staggered release was not a good idea in my opinion, and I think it has done far more harm than good for the community. It is clear EA wanted to push their new Origin Access Premiere feature, but there are many better ways to do this. Also, soft launching the game a day earlier than expected at the same time as all the content from those invited out to try the game a few days earlier in Stockholm was again a very silly move, as you've missed out on a load of free publicity, with those videos not gaining as many views as they would have if the game had come out when EA said it would. Not really a problem that can be fixed, as I said, but you guys will agree it would have been nice if everyone was playing the game on the same date on release. A problem that has appeared for quite a few people is the max rank. People are already max rank in the game. Level 50 is the maximum rank at the minute. That is far too low and far too easy to reach. DICE are planning to bring in more ways of leveling up with the Overture update, however this is a fix to a problem that should never have occurred. Customization is also receiving a bit of love with some ease of use changes. As I mentioned before, you should be allowed to change your specializations in a future update whilst you're in game, and also you might be able to change all of your weapon skin sections on a weapon in one go instead of clicking on them individually. Footsteps are broken in the game. They either work perfectly or just don't exist in the same way we had in the beta. These need fixing very quickly because footsteps in an FPS game are essential. Changing to the 3D headphone setting does offer a slightly better experience, but it certainly isn't perfect, and it's definitely something that needs to be a priority for DICE to sort out. Have you ever been playing Grand Operations as an attacker in the plane, and you're about to spawn in and jump out of the plane and parachute down to arm some objectives? Well, that isn't the case for everybody. The planes are often shot down before you even get a chance to jump out, and everyone inside the plane dies as well. You can often be shot whilst parachuting down as well, which just sucks because there's nothing you can do about it. The parachutes are unresponsive, you can't direct where you want to go, and I just don't see the point in it. Both these things need addressing. In terms of the planes, I believe DICE are increasing the health in order to prevent it from being shot down as easily. This should have been something that they noticed after the alpha and the beta, but Whatever, this can be fixed in the first update, no problem. Also, you have the problem with parachuting. I believe you should be able to have far more maneuverability with the parachute, and then you should be allowed to pull your parachute when you want. So if I get really close to the ground whilst free falling, I can pull my parachute like I would in BF4, and maybe I'll take some damage from hitting the floor too hard. If I don't put my parachute, maybe I'll go splat, but at least I have the option to avoid all of that flak and sniper fire as I drop towards the ground. From time to time, I do get an ADS bug with certain weapons. The hipfire reticle is bang on a player in the distance. I'll ADS and then it just won't be in the right position, and I'll be firing way above them or way below them. This is something that needs to be sorted ASAP. Now for a problem that many people are struggling with, the performance. Oh dear, this is something that many people have struggled with. However, there is a simple fix to get more FPS until DICE sort this entire problem out. Place your future frame rendering to on and then restart your game. Future frame rendering is often something that you would have off on a game like this because that would reduce your input latency and make the game feel more responsive. Putting it on will give you more FPS, but then you'll have a larger input latency, and that's not something you want at all. However, in this situation, it's definitely better to put it on, restart your game in order for it to take effect, and then you can enjoy some slightly higher FPS. In some cases, people have nearly doubled their FPS by doing this, but you have to restart your game afterwards, otherwise it won't take effect. As for performance, I also believe that forced TAA needs to go. Anti-aliasing is something that many people enjoy in games, but I do not in FPS games. It has to be turned off. The game looks blurry with it on. Unfortunately, I think it might be tied into the game. As devs have said, this is something they cannot remove, but I'm sure there will be a way to get rid of it. People are looking at config files and ways to remove it, so I'll update you if we find anything that works. In addition to that, more visual clutter should be turned off in my opinion to make enemies more easily seen. They're not incredibly difficult to spot as it is in most situations, but with the removal of 3D spotting we have taken a nice step away from what we had in BF1. However, the clutter almost makes it impossible at times to spot enemies. The smoke, the little bits of snow and ash that you get on certain maps. I do enjoy it in certain situations, but it seems to just be a bit over the top on certain maps. Now for something that some people might not agree with, it's up to you to have your own opinion on this, but for me, the V1 bombs are a bit of a pain. I do enjoy the V1, I think it provides an awesome only in Battlefield moment, and it can swing the direction of a match if placed on the right objective. Squads have to work together in order to get one, however there are quite a few issues with the V1. Firstly, V1s often appear at the end of the round, as everyone amasses enough points to launch one. This is often the case on Conquest. This means in the last 20% of a game, there are tons of V1 rockets flying around, and it is fairly annoying. Not only as someone getting killed by them, but also as a friendly as you get knocked back by the explosion. If this is happening 10 times a game, you could often die 10 times because being knocked onto your back means you can't do anything and you can easily be shot by an enemy. I don't enjoy things that punish friendly players when one of your teammates has chosen to do something. I don't agree with that in an FPS game, especially like this. On some modes this isn't the case. As I mentioned, Conquest is the worst for it. However, it is a problem that DICE might want to look at. Secondly, there are other bonuses for gaining points as a squad. However, most squad leaders always wait for the V1 or JB2 rocket. I think that DICE need to rethink the V1 and only allow access to it once you have used one of the other kill streaks first. This way people will be more inclined to drop the support packages. Why have those other 2 or 3 different options as a squad leader if they're never going to be used because people just want that only in Battlefield V1 rocket? Make it so they have to use one of them first and have them all very cheap to use, maybe 5,000, 10,000 points. And then if you use those, you unlock the V1, people will still gain access to it, but you'll get obviously a squad leader that is more inclined to help you out with other kill streak rewards. Now for something that definitely needs to be introduced into the game, and it's an absolute disaster that it hasn't been already. It had to be something that came with the game on release, and I'm of course talking about custom servers. As a content creator, I would really benefit from owning a server with my own rules, even an empty server to test certain things out. I would be paying for it, so I don't really see what the issue is. We've had it in pretty much every previous Battlefield. Battlefield 1 had it, but it did take a while to implement. Battlefield 5, however, has not got it, and the plans to bring it in, well, they're not exactly solid, and I'm not certain we're going to receive them. This was a feature that kept Battlefield 4 alive for years, and it made Battlefield 1 a lot more playable in some regards. I think it has to return to bring back those strong communities that we've had in Battlefield in the past and allow players to shape the game as they want. Finally, the last thing I want to talk about are the vehicles. The vehicles do need balancing, and this is something that most people knew would have to happen, as it's important to make sure the vehicles are not ruining the game of infantry players. Tanks camp too much because they are slow and very cumbersome to maneuver, fighters often seem as if they are firing ping pong balls at the enemy, and bombers seem to demolish infantry on the ground in the same way the Muromets did in BF1, however not quite to the same extent. DICE will balance these things, I'm sure, and with the specialisations slowly coming in, maybe the vehicles will be slightly different to what they are right now. However, I think there's a bit of work to be done on all fronts with the vehicles, not massive changes, but some minor tweaks just to make sure that they're working properly. Is there anything that I've missed in this list? Surely there is, with Battlefield 5 being a new game and a game that is definitely in need of a couple of patches. You can let me know in the comments if there's anything that you would ask DICE to change or update. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.